Welcome back to the Cleveland Baseball Talk podcast. I'm Joe Noga, joined by Paul Hoynes from Houston, where the Guardians win their second straight in 10 innings. They beat the Astros 10-6. Taking a big lead in the game. The Astros rallied back, tied the game, and then Angel Martinez coming through with the grand slam in the 10th inning that put things away. Hoynesy, the Guardians struggled to score runs for such a long stretch there. And now in back-to-back games, they've put crooked numbers on the board in multiple innings. They're hitting home runs. They're coming through with big hits in situations. It's a small sample, just 2 games against the Astros, who were playing well before the Guardians showed up to town. But just what's your takeaway from these last 2 games in Houston, particularly last night, where it looked like things were going to sort of revert back to the losing streak, the ways of the struggle there at the end of the game, but Angel Martinez basically came through and saved them.
Yeah, big grand slam in the 10th inning. He did it off one of the best relievers in baseball, Josh Hader. I was looking at the stats, Joe. Angel Martinez's father, Sandy Martinez, played parts of 8 years in the big leagues, hit 6 home runs, no grand slams. His kid has already hit 9 home runs with a slam. So, those two talk every night after every game. So we talked to Angel last night. He said he had already talked to his dad, and his dad was very, very happy with him.
Yeah, I can imagine that would make him happy. The other thing that makes him happy, that was a unicorn home run. That was a 1 of 30 home run. The only place in Major League Baseball that ball that Angel Martinez hit that would have gone out is the Crawford boxes, the front row, a wall scraper, if you will, at the Houston ballpark there, formerly known as Minute Maid. I forget what they call it now. What's the
Dakin Park.
the sponsors? Dakin Park. Okay.
Dakin Park, yeah.
Just when that ball came off the bat, what were your initial thoughts?
Yeah, I didn't know if it was out or in, Joe. It was like he skied it, and but the more the ball carried, and you were watching the left fielder, he went all the way back to the wall, and it just kind of like you said, fell into the first seat. He hit the ball hard, but it was mostly he hit it straight up in the air. But they were fortunate enough that it carried and gave them a big cushion for Emmanuel Clase to come in the bottom of the 10th and close the door.
Yeah, that definitely sort of took the pressure off. I believe, was that the 3rd straight day pitching for Emmanuel Clase? I gotta think that he might be down for tonight as well.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yes, Clase's 3rd straight day was Hunter Gaddis's 3rd straight day. Gaddis pitching 3 days in a row for the first time in his career. So that bullpen has kind of been strapped for sure.
One of the things that we saw last night, speaking of the bullpen, something that we don't see a lot of, a rare feat, a rare occurrence. The intentional balk was dusted off and brought out with Cade Smith on the mound. Tell us about what Stephen Vogt was thinking in that moment.
Yeah, definitely. When this was in the 6th inning, Joe, Cade Smith came on in relief of Eric Sabrowski, 2 out. Mauricio Dubon on second base after a leadoff double. And Vogt had Cade Smith step off the pitching rubber 3 straight times, simulating 3 disengagements. And the umpires balked him to 3rd base because Vogt after the game said Houston is very good at relaying signs from second base, picking up the pitcher's tendencies and relay them to the hitter or to the bench, whatever. And, this harkened back to Sunday's game when, Cade Smith in the 10th inning was knocked around, gave up 6 runs, 4 earned in 1/3 of an inning against the Tigers. And right away, the Guardians felt that he was tipping his pitches. So to avoid that happening again, that's why they balked him. They balked Dubon to 3rd base. And it reminded me, the last time I saw this happen, Joe, was in May 3rd, 2005 against, it was Bob Wickman, that crafty, crafty Guardians closer, and he did it against the Twins at the old Metrodome. So I don't think Eric Wedge, I believe, was the manager. I don't think Wedge called that one. This was he Wickman did that by himself. I don't think Wedge was real happy, but this one came from the bench last night.
But that brings up, an interesting situation. Like Cade Smith, up until that game on Sunday, hadn't given up a home run during the regular season this year. He gives up two. He gives up a home run to Trey Sweeney, who, not exactly the biggest power hitter in the Detroit lineup. How does Cade Smith move forward and basically make an adjustment there? Is there something he can work on to sort of not tip his pitches, as he does his side work during the week or whatever between appearances?
Yeah, I was talking to Cade after the game, and he wasn't really convinced that he was tipping his pitches. He thought perhaps he was, perhaps the Detroit hitters just made an adjustment to him. But I was talking to Sabrowski too, and he said Dubon was really zeroing in on him. He said he wasn't trying to hide it. He could kind of feel his presence on the when he was on the mound. So obviously something was going on. Those guys don't miss much. On both sides of the diamond, in both dugouts, they're always looking to dissect a pitcher. And with the pitch com, Joe, now you can't steal a catcher's signals, so you really concentrate on the hitter. And they thought Cade may have been. The way he held his glove on certain pitches. This was against Detroit, that he may have been tipping off some pitches, just by the way the glove moved.
Or just in the way that you dig your hand into the glove, or you
Yeah,
set,
yeah.
for a pitcher to have to uh, you know be neutral and sort of vary up their looks and that kind of thing. Maybe it gives Caden now an advantage to come back and sort of change things if teams think they have a book on him. But it's interesting, you're in Houston. We're talking about sign stealing or pitch tipping or what teams can do legally sort of to cheat. If you're good at stealing those kinds of, or at seeing those kinds of things, relaying those kinds of things to your teammate without the use of technology of any kind, without the use of any sort of outside means, I guess that's part of the game. And that's something that I guess Houston is now back into to doing after the 2017-2018 sign stealing scandal that allegedly used technology, and basically the Astros players were not punished for. But the game does have a way of policing itself, and if you're up there trying to steal pitches or relay, what's coming to the batter, the next time you get up there, you might find one in your ribs, or if Stephen Vogt's calling it from the bench, remember you're supposed to only hit him in the thigh, right?
The thing I liked about it, Joe, I mean, you know how Cade Smith is on the mound. He's, just nothing really upsets him. He doesn't show any emotion. So the guy balks Dubon to third base, and then he's facing Isaac Paredes is at the plate, one of the most dangerous Houston hitters. He just retires him on a pop up. It was like okay, that guy's on third base. We're in I think it was a 1-run game, or really a tight game, and I just put the guy 90 feet away from scoring a run, and so I'll just get this guy and end the inning. And he just kind of walked off the mound like there was nothing. Nothing phases that guy.
Yeah, any guy who can take a 106-mile-an-hour line drive to the bill of his cap and then strike
Yeah.
out the next batter he faces has my vote as ice cold. Nothing's going to phase him. So, yeah, just an interesting moment from last night's game. Another interesting performance from last night's game, Brian Rocchio. He is trying to make the most of his return to the big leagues with the Gabriel Arias ankle injury. He has been out there a couple of times in this series, been on base a bunch. Last night, a big home run, a big RBI double. Just what's different about Brian Rocchio right now?
Yeah, Joe, this is, I guess, the Brian Rocchio they wanted to see from opening day when he was the opening day shortstop. They did not see that. That earned him a trip to AAA Columbus. And he told reporters after the game that he kind of rediscovered himself at Columbus. He played like 41 games, 47 games down there, and really, got to, kind of really think about what kind of player he wants to be, what kind of player he has to be to get to the big leagues, to stay to the big leagues, to stay in the big leagues. And I think we saw really a sample of that Monday night: 2 sack bunts and a 2-run double, and then carried over into last night with 3 hits, a double, a home run, a single. Now, he told me after the game, he said, I'm not going to hit a home run every night, but this is the kind of player he wants to be. He's working toward being more of an offensive minded player, well rounded shortstop, and so far, out of the number 9 spot in the lineup, you've got to like what he's done.
Yeah, Rocchio has hit at every level he's been at. The last one, the major leagues, is the hardest level to hit at. So you've just got to be patient and give him some time to do that. I think the organization is well aware of that, and who knows? Once Gabriel Arias is ready to come back off the injured list, if Brian Rocchio is hitting the way he has over the last 2 games, that's going to make for a tough decision.
Yeah, that's you go right back to opening day, Joe, when Rocchio was a starting shortstop, Arias was starting at second base and kind of bouncing around all over the place. But Arias is having basically a career season for him as well. He's what, second or third on the team in RBIs. Not with a great batting average, but playing good defense. So yeah, really an interesting position to put the front office and Stephen Vogt in when Arias is healthy. And when we saw him at the end of the last homestand against the Tigers, he was feeling very good. He was taking infield, he was running sprints, taking BP. So I think he's close.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a much of a lengthy stint left or anything beyond that 10 days originally. But who knows? He might have to go out and have a couple of rehab assignments or playing a couple of games just to get his timing down. But we'll see what they do with Gabriel Arias when that decision comes around. John Kenzie Noel, another guy who you talked to, he's up in place of Kyle Manzardo at this point. What did John Kenzie Noel talk about when he spent his time down in the minor leagues?
Yeah, John Kenzie said he was not disappointed when they sent him down. He knew, he kind of knew, he saw the writing on the wall. He knew it was coming. And he said, look I'm going to go down. I'm going to concentrate on hitting. I'm going to be ready when you guys need me. And he went down, and Joe, I mean, this is like somebody flipped a switch. I mean, all of a sudden he's hitting 280 with 5 home runs, 17 RBIs. He's got a bunch of doubles, and he did it, in 27, 30 games, something like that. He really got together with Batantis, the hitting coach down there, Luis Ortiz, one of the traveling hitting coaches. He worked with them a lot, and he said he never lost his confidence. He said, I know what kind of player I am. I know what kind of hitter I am. That's why I was able to go down there and put up some good numbers. And he just said, "Thank God I'm back." But I'm not sure exactly how long he's going to be.
Yeah, it's there are a lot of different factors that go into that, and including how close Chase DeLauder is and what their plans are for bringing him along. As we'll see, he continues to hit at the AAA level and continues to prove what the scouts have already told Chris Antonetti, and that's that he's ready for a major league assignment, and the opportunity just has to present itself. The guy who had a major league assignment present itself and giving him a couple of starts here now, his second one is Joey Cantillo. Went out for another 4 innings and really looked pretty strong again.
Yeah, Joe, I really liked the way he pitched. He kind of bobbed and weaved. He came off the ropes a couple times. He got himself into trouble, but he's got those great off-speed pitches, and he was able to strike out 7 guys in 4 innings. And he got those strikeouts in big situations with guys, on first and second, first and third through 4 innings, and kind of ran into some problems in the fifth when Houston put together a 3-run inning and they had to go to the bullpen. But I thought another positive step, Joe. This guy, we got to remember, Cantillo is still getting stretched out. That's why they sent him to Columbus. He was up to, I think, close to 70 pitches last night. So I think he's getting there. He's getting stretched out. He's getting to a point where he should be able to give you 5 to 6 innings, in the next couple times out.
Speaking of getting 5 to 6 innings, playing a whole game, defensive strategy. Stephen Vogt talked about his philosophy, his thinking, his usage of his catchers in late game situations. Just what's on Stephen Vogt's mind when it comes to where and when Austin Hedges will be jumping in to sub for Bo Naylor.
Yeah, this was a really interesting move Monday night, Joe. In the ninth inning, with the Guardians leading 7-5. Bo Naylor had caught Emmanuel Class. I mean, had caught the first 8 innings. So Vogt makes the decision to put Austin Hedges in there in the ninth inning to catch Emmanuel Clase, and it was a direct reflection on to me on what happened Sunday against the Tigers when Naylor couldn't handle a wild pitch by Clase, let the ball go through his legs. The tying run scores from third base, and the Guardians go on to lose their 10th straight when the Tigers have a big 10th inning. So, all of a sudden, in the very next game, with Class A on the mound, Hedges is in there, not Class A, not Josh Naylor. I mean, not Bo Naylor, I should say. And you could tell. I thought on Sunday that Class A was not really happy with with him not being able to, with Naylor not being able to knock that ball down. He was kind of stepping around, walking around the mound after it happened. It cost him a blown save. So I don't know what Vogt said. He talked to Naylor in the moment before he made the move. He talked to him again yesterday morning about the move. He said he does not think he hurt his confidence. He said because we've got a good relationship. I talk to him every day, and he said that's not going to be a normal practice. He said Naylor's one of the best catchers in the world. He also said that Hedges is the best defensive catcher in the world. So I don't know, Joe. We've got two of the best catchers in the world on the Guardians right now. But it was interesting. Even last night, when he said it wasn't going to be a normal practice, Hedges ended up catching Class A in the bottom of the 10th.
Yeah, which makes me wonder, is it a move necessarily, prompted by Vote, or is it something to keep Class A happy and something coming
Yeah.
from Class A? I don't know. It's probably not a really good practice to have your pitcher picking and choosing which catcher he wants to throw to. That he has to be able to throw to both guys. But it's so close to that mistake happening, so close to things being so raw still from Sunday's loss. Maybe just in that particular moment is when Vogt chose to those line Hedges and Class A up together.
Yeah, I think that may have played a part in it, Joe. But if you're a manager, you do not want to do that. You do not want to have your pitchers picking the catchers they're going to throw to. That's your job.
Yeah, and especially if you're a manager who was a catcher, that's sort of a signature thing for you there as well. Got to mention last night that the Guardians offense, which had just been in a terrible funk throughout that whole 10-game losing streak, scoring batting under 100 I think during the streak, it just awful on the homestand prior to that. But they go out against Hunter Brown, who is in the conversation to start the All-Star game for the American League. One of the best pitchers in the AL and all of baseball this season. And Josh Hader, one of the best closers, one of the best relief pitchers in all of baseball, consistently over the last several years. They score 6 against Hunter Brown, and they score 3 against Josh Hader, 3 earned against Josh Hader. Nobody has done either of those two things. This is an offense that can get runs on the board if they basically come through in those big at-bats.
Yeah, Joe, it's really interesting. I mean, you can't really keep a team down. You can't. They struggled for 10 games, and we saw it. I mean, they could not buy a big hit to save their lives. But in the last 2 games, they've done that. Now the thing is, Joe, they have to be consistent. Bad teams will do this. Bad teams will go along and look terrible, then have 2 games where the floodgates open and they score 10 runs in each game, and then they go back to being themselves. So the true test here for the Guardians is going to come. What do they do in the next week? They're coming out of the All-Star break. What do they do in the next 10, 20 games? Was this a mirage, or is this really kind of a revelation?
All right. Well, this entire podcast has been a revelation, Hoynes. We will check in again with you tomorrow on the Cleveland Baseball Talk podcast. We'll see you then.
All right, Joe.